Hey, yo, what's going on, guys? It is your boy Player X here with the Semi-Limited Podcast. Just want to thank you guys so much for tuning into yet another installment of the pod. I know we took a break last week, not too much of a I would say planned break. We just happened to have a little bit of scheduling difficulties. I wanted to make sure that we got the discussion on the YCS, and we talked to someone who was actually there. Brennan unfortunately couldn't make it today, so we're gonna be making sure we mosey on without him. We'll get him back on the pod for another episode. But thank you guys for tuning back in and joining us for another episode. Just before we get into today's episode, we'll be joined by a basically renowned duelist who went to YCS Indy to talk about what happened this weekend. We'll also have some new announcements from Konami, as well as probably some reveals and the return of the fan favorite segment, People's Choice. But before all that, let's get into these sponsored plugins. Please go down to the link down in the description box below to follow all of our social sites. You'll click that tab and a whole big thing will come up where you can follow us at all of our social sites, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. You can reach out to the pod on basically all major pod platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, all that stuff. Follow us, subscribe, click all the bells and stuff, and make sure you communicate with us because we will be doing way more giveaways for you guys. The next one probably will be when we hit 200 on YouTube, but we also have 50 follower giveaway for TikTok, 100 for Twitter or X, and then 200 when we hit YouTube, Instagram, and Discord, which is more than likely going to be YouTube. I think we're at like 194, 195, something like that. So we're pretty damn close. So be sure to check out all those platforms, be knowing when we're doing a giveaway and what it will be. Speaking of giveaways, shout out to our sponsor, Unplugged Gaming, out in Manlius, New York, for sponsoring the podcast. Be sure to join their Discord server, also in the description box below. You'll be able to click that link and then be a part of their TCG communities, whether it's the new and pop in Lorcana, maybe you're finding yourself in the Pokemon realm, Magic, whatever it is. If it's on cardboard, they make sure that they take care of it and have it in inventory for you guys. So be sure to be a part of their Discord where you can chit chat about all these games, maybe plan a event to show up at, and then when you do show up, be sure to tell them that the boys over at the Semi-Limited Podcast sent you, and they will definitely be sure to hook you guys up because we fuck with everybody over there the same way they fuck with us. Also, lastly but not least, be sure to catch Brad, aka Mr. Perfect, live streaming on Twitch every Saturday night at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. His Twitch will also be in our Linktree link down below. You can click on it, go to his Twitch stream where he'll be streaming, basically doing deck theorying, testing, practicing for YCSs, maybe regionals or some OTS championships that we got going on in the area. Who knows? Whatever you guys want to do is very interactive with the chat, so go down there and make sure to interact with him. And then when he brings it up on our Friday night wrap up, he'll basically tell me what's going on, and we'll be able to introduce it into that segment for you guys. But without any further ado, before we start getting into today's episode, I wanted to introduce our guest for tonight. This player needs really no introduction because he is a 3-time YCS winner and with a following well over 80K strong in such a niche little game like ours. But I'd like to give everyone a chance to give a nice semi-limited welcome to Pack TCG. Thank you so much for coming on today, Ben.
Hey, hi everyone. Thanks for having me on. I'm looking forward to just chatting with you guys. So yeah, thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. It's what the podcast is all about, man. Just picking everyone's brains, getting all the details, the nitty gritty, and just finding out what's really out there. But before we start getting into it, do you have any, I would say, shout outs or any plug anything like that you want to have right now while we have the opportunity?
No, nothing at all. This game is sick, and I met some really cool people. So I just wanted to give back in any way I can. So yeah, I think this is a good way to do
Absolutely.
that.
There you go. So be sure to check him out on YouTube at the very least. You can check him out at PackTCG. But with all that out of the way, let's dig on into today's episode. We're going to start off with the YCS Indianapolis that took place basically about 2 weeks ago over the 1st and 2nd of June in Indianapolis, North America. This event had close to 1,800 players in attendance. I believe the correct number was 1,788 with the main event, and that's not including the side event players as well, or just people who just wanted to come in there and enjoy the atmosphere of Yu-Gi-Oh! But this massive 11-round tournament was broken up into 2 days, with day 1 being 9 vigorous rounds of Swiss, and an even tougher day 2 with 2 more rounds of Swiss, followed by an immediate cut to top 32. Our top 32 breakdown was as followed: 21. Count them again, 21 pure Snake Eyes, with an additional 3 more Snake Eyes if you include the Kashtira, Salomon Great, and Fire King variants that also topped. And then we also have 2 Runic decks, one of them being the Runic Stun, piloted by our prior guest, Asian Persuasion. So congrats to him for making his another top under his belt. And then we have the one ofs being Melodious Tempai, Voiceless Voice, Pure Cashtira, Labyrinth, and Branded. Moving on to top 16, it kicked out half of them and left us with 12 Snake Eyes, one Branded, one Labyrinth, one Melodious, and one Tempai. Going one round later, top 8 would bring us 7 Tempais and one Lab before our top 4 semifinals would be taken completely over by Snake Eyes Mirrors. This eventually led down to a heated match between the prior 6-time YCS winner Chris LeBlanc and the 3-time YCS champ, if I'm not mistaken, Paolo Convales from Brazil, going head to head to see who walked away victorious. And after 25 minutes of back and forth games, Paolo managed to upset Chris in game 3 with the 300 IQ play of calling out or basically crossing out a skill drain with a crossed out designated to win game 3 and become the 2024 YCS Indy champion. So congrats to him and his hard work, big brain, and basically hard talent that just really just came out and flourished in those last couple matches for sure. But before we deep dive into more aspects of the YCS, I'd just like to quickly go back to look at the top 32 for the YCS for a second and bring attention to just the sheer number of Snake Eyes player in that top cut. Because although Konami did not say, or they did say that they wouldn't stream Snake Eye matches for the first 5 rounds, I think, for the viewers at home, that didn't mean that it was not on the battlefield and in numbers by that fact. Would you say that the top cut percentages were accurately reflect the numbers of Snake Eye players in the room during Swiss rounds, or was it more like two, like roguey, while the first couple rounds were going on up until top cut, basically?
Yeah, there was a lot of rogue earlier on, just like any YCS. Typically, your earlier rounds are mainly going to be like random tier 2, tier 3 decks. But yeah, I would say that like the deck I played against the most was definitely Snake Eyes, and I think as you have if you have like a strong record earlier on, you're gonna find yourself playing against a lot of Snake Eyes. But if you lose early, like you're going to the gutter pretty much playing like the random stuff, which is not
Yeah,
a good
X1
thing
pool sucks.
because yeah, like that's not a good thing though because like you can take random losses to those type of strategies, especially when you're not prepared for them. Like let's say you queue into like Black Wings round 4 because you're X1, like it's it's not great if they win the roll and summon 2 of their towers monsters against you. So
Big facts.
yeah, it's
And
just
not
kind
only
of like
that, but if
the
you're
format.
losing early, like your tiebreakers are also
Yeah,
probably not that great. You know what I'm saying?
this
So
was a
like,
YCS where like X2s basically if you lose early, you don't make it. I lost
exactly.
round 4 or round 5 I think to I just lost in time because I didn't play a time card. Um
Hmm.
but I probably should have to account for my opponents being slow, but I just didn't play a time card because I didn't think I would need it because I'm pretty fast when I play. I like rarely go into time, but um because of that loss, it's so hard to make top cut because like when you lose early in those type of like tournaments where, as you mentioned, 1,800 players, but only top 32, you're gonna find yourself not making top cut even if you win the rest. You have to like pretty much win out. So those type of tournaments are pretty tough. You have to basically go like 10-1 pretty much.
Yeah, it's like you need like I think 2,000 players or more to have like a top 64, right, or something like that, like around that area.
Yeah, you need 2048. But
Okay, yeah.
uh, or 2049 technically. And if you get that, then it'll be top 64. So usually Europe has like those numbers where like they get like 2,200, 2,100.
Hmm.
So like YSS Bologna, for example, I think was top 64. So yeah.
Would you prefer to have a top 64 or a top 32? I mean, like taking aside that you could possibly have like an early round loss, you could probably run into a deck that you didn't want to run into, yada yada. Taking all that aside, would you rather still have the best of the best top 32 or like this still squeaking your way in, try to chance top 64?
I mean the record's the same regardless. I just wish there was a way to have like it doesn't matter if it's top 32 for me if every X2 makes it, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
And it doesn't matter if it's top 64 for me if every like X2 makes it. So for me, like it doesn't matter if it's top 64 or 60 or 32. It's just an extra round, so you might need to get a little bit luckier. Yeah.
I forget. I mean, some people think that it's just an extra round, but like that extra 45 minutes is this, or I think 50 minutes when you're starting to get up there, like it starts taking a toll on you. We've been playing all day for the last 2 days, consistently back to back to back, no breaks. You know what I'm saying? No real rest unless you just wash someone up fast enough to like get yourself a snack or a break. So I'm just curious to see how an extra round might do for a competitive mindset. You know, if like they rather have it or it's one less round, so I'd rather just work harder to get to there so I don't have to like play out an extra round or like, what's one more extra round for it.
Yeah, exactly, for sure. Yeah, I like I said, I don't mind whatever top cut is. It's just that then because like yeah, it might be like I don't mind extra rounds. I actually like playing extra rounds because it gives you like more time to like warm up and stuff.
Mhm.
So I actually don't mind. Like that's why like I don't even like play VIP sometimes because like I just don't care. Like I don't really care about the 2 round buys. I like for me, I would actually prefer to play the first 2 rounds to like warm up and get that, just like the motion going
Yeah.
in. So that way like you can feel comfortable and all that good stuff. Yeah.
That's curious. Even with your YCS wins, that you don't ever choose to like take the extra free
Yeah.
two win.
Believe it or not, like all the YCs I won, actually I like top 16 premier events, and I think only one of them did I have a 2 round buy. Almost every other one I actually never had a buy. And the only one that I did top with a 2 round buy was Nats of last year. And that
Mhm.
was because I made the playoffs, so I got free 2 round buys at Nats, but I didn't actively go to get VIP qualifiers or anything like that.
That's fair. So
Like
you
I
just
said,
happen to bestow a follow you. Yeah. Okay.
yeah, I just prefer to play the first rounds, believe it or not. And I think like I know a lot of people don't want to play against the rogue decks, but I like am pretty familiar with like all the rogue strategies because
Hmm.
as a content creator, you like learn every nuanced deck and whatnot. So for me, like if someone cues memento into me, it's not like a surprise. I know how to like interact with it and all that good stuff. So yeah.
I mean, speaking of like that rogue stuff, like, and as you said, being a content creator who's similar to like how Winner Kills does a lot of rogue practice, even bringing like branded and other strategies to YCSs that aren't obviously meta or like the big target on the back. Would you say that there's a deck when you walked into that event that you were like, damn, I kind of really hope I don't want to run into it because either just don't want to get high rolled or maybe it's a bad matchup naturally, or something like that. It, like, maybe, like, I mean, obviously you're ready for Snake Eyes because you built your deck to go around it or at least play through the board. But was there any other decks that you weren't like didn't run into or maybe did run into that you didn't want to?
No, I actually felt comfortable with all the decks. I think a lot of people would naturally say Tenpai, but if Tenpai makes like I played Despia at the YCS, and if they decide to make me start, it's actually so like it's so crazy
It's
for them
free.
because like I usually just like puppet lock through like multiple hand traps. So it would be suicide for Tenpai players to make me start majority of the time because I just puppet lock them. And even if I don't puppet lock them, I can usually set up Albaz with Rinbrum in the graveyard. So when they enter battle phase, I summon back Albaz and contact fuse their whole board into Albalinatus. So it's like really, really difficult. Because Mirror Jade's like a huge threat too. So like the fact
Mhm.
that like I can just use Mirror Jade in battle phase, they have droplets for something, sure. But then Mirror Jade sends for cost. So like I said, you can send the Rinbrum, bring back the Albaz effect, and they probably use their droplets at that point. So it's just
So you never
doesn't
feel
matter.
like uncomfortable with like when they activate field spell and then maybe go for the line where they try to like turbo out Transcendience before battle phase or something like that to like feel protected?
Yeah, they could, but you have Brennan red, so usually you can make Guardian Chimera and then pop the field spell,
Pop the field
and
spell at the
then
very least and then start fucking with
yeah, and
them?
then just Mirror Jade to
Okay.
transcend it, and then they actually use all their cards at that point. Yeah,
Oh yeah, no, that's a very good point.
but you
Okay,
have to
that's
keep in
fair.
mind that
That's fair.
like if you don't puppet lock them, that means that like they have like that means they use like the majority of their hand to like stop you. So the only way to do the transcendent combo and then enter battle phase with Sangan Kaiman is they need a 2 card combo, right? With like Hydra Field Spell or some version of that. So they need to hand trap you like probably like at least 3 times and then open those combination. But usually when you get hand trap multiple times, you end on like a half board. And those half boards are like really good because like for instance, like even if you get hand trapped a lot, but you end with like Cartesia on the board, if they make the Synchro 7 in main phase 1, you can chain the Cartesia to make Grangunal. And then Grangunal can actually tag itself out into a Quem. And then Quem can actually so Quem can send Albaz, and then the Grangunal can send Rinbrum, and so Rinbrum can bring back the
The
Albaz
Albaz.
off of Quem regardless. So like that was a really neat play, and a lot of people don't know that you can actually use Grangunal's effect to dump and effect to tag out in the same chain. So like when they go like effect
Yeah, chain one,
of
chain two, yeah.
yeah, so when they go like if they go like say let's say they go like normal summon Pydra, and they like get the quick play, then they use the field spell to get Chundra. If they go Chilling One Chundra, you can go Chilling to Cartesia, make Grangunal. On resolution, you can go Chilling one Grangunal to Foolish, Chilling two Grangunal banish for cost to summon Quem. Quem will
Because
summon
I saw it happen.
yeah, Quem will go send Albaz, and then your Grangunal will resolve to send Rinbrum. And that's what that was the interaction I was talking about, where like You see, that's like through like multiple hand traps, and Cartasia like got imp stopped, right? But if you open like deployment or anything, there's always gonna be Cartasia on your board, pretty much. So
No, that's
this
fair.
is
I
a good
never really
example.
thought about it like that. We do have a couple local players, Matt Pelletier, who's another sponsored semi-limited player, and then
Yep.
Austin Despa are also other duelists that are pretty good. That with the deck they've been playing it since like basically conception and shit like that. So and
Yeah.
Austin, at the very least, I know when I play against her, she always hates when I have field spell and then just turbo into that because either she just doesn't have the Brandon in red, or maybe she just doesn't have the quite cards to play around it. But like, I just feel like she's gonna definitely hear your words and be like, "Oh, damn, I did have plays." You know what I'm saying? So hopefully,
Yeah.
she
Yeah. Yeah.
learns a thing or two from that.
That's
Because
it.
like
Yeah.
playing Brandon, that's such a deck that I feel as though you kind of have to really love, like to really play for this long, like
Yeah. It's also
longevity
really
wise. It's got
difficult
so
to play it
much.
really well. That's like the
Yeah, yeah,
biggest
yeah.
thing about it.
You have to play it so well.
Yeah.
It punishes player for misplaying like very harshly.
Yeah, like one of my lost, like I lost one in time because I didn't cite a time card, which I could have like solved that by citing a time card, but like I said, I don't. Out of like the
You're
11
not
rounds
playing
I played, I
Masquerade?
didn't. No, I don't play
Okay.
Masquerade. I could have
Okay.
cited it, but like I said, I don't really play for time. Like I just
That's fair.
like
You
it's.
just
I also
play
didn't
to
expect
win.
to even go close to time. Yeah, exactly. So I didn't cite it, and then my other loss was because I misplayed. Like it was a really bad one. I just had a brain fart and I just forgot that I already used Albaz, and I tried to use it again, and my opponent didn't even catch it. I actually reminded him because I caught it myself, and I'm like, "Oh wait, I can't use it. I already use it." And he was about to let it go, and I'm like, "No, no, no, I can't do
Hold
this."
up there.
And
Guy.
then yeah, and then so I just passed, and then he just taught. I think he topped like he had Witch. He had Ash already, but he topped like Witch, which was like extended to kill me. So it was
I
actually
feel
like
that. Yeah.
really unfortunate. But like I win that game if I was just like way more fresh, I think. But it was round 8 or round 9. No, it was round 8. Yeah, because I had the round 9 feature. But yeah, it was round 8, and that was unfortunate too because losing that round 8 meant that I was actually out the tournament, even though I still had a topping record at like any other
Yeah.
YCS, you know. But
Yeah.
yeah, I
For
pretty
sure.
much just gave up after that because I was like, "Yep, I'm out the tournament because of the tournament structure. Nothing you could do about it." So yeah,
Yep, sorry, big L's. You know what I'm saying? I wish that they would
yeah,
fix that too. I think I watched the Joshua Smith video where he was talking about how he is thankful to be in Europe where they do have that extra like round to kind of give up to the top, or they have such a big number of attendance that they do get the top 64. So it does kind of like reward people who do go X2 and maybe have lost once or twice, whether to a misplay or like you said, like a time issue where like you didn't really play wrong, but just odds are, sorry, it wasn't your time for this
yeah,
round. But yeah, no, I do agree with that. That it sucks that because like our boy Brennan was X2 as well, and he got 41st. So if there was top 64, he would have got in, but obviously there wasn't. So he kind of like bubbled out, and it was his first like major event like where he bubbled. So he was kind of really hoping to bubble in. But now you get to he really understood with experience how harsh and severe that those tiebreakers really
yeah.
mean
My
when it
first
comes down to
YCS
rounds like that.
My first YCS ever, I got finished X2 and I got 17th, and top cut was top 16. It was at the 33 Vegas YCS with Sam and
Oh
Triff.
my
And that
gosh.
was my first YCS ever, and I got 17th. And then I think there was one other YCS. I got 33rd and was top 32. I did that twice, I think. So I had my fair share of like bubbles as well. And it does suck, I think, but I mean what can you really do? I think it's just like the RNG of like how the tournament is ran, and it also depends on like if the person you beat. But a lot of people think your tiebreakers are based on when you lost, but it's also about who
It's
you
the person,
beat.
yeah. Yeah.
So if you beat some guy and that dude just drops out the tournament like for fun, and he's like, "I'm gonna go play the side event," bro, your tiebreakers are screwed. So
Yeah.
like you actually want the person you beat to
To do
continue
well.
playing. But a lot of people don't realize that. Like they think that like, oh, like if you just beat your opponent, it's just the end of it. But it's like no, like whoever you beat, you gotta like motivate them to keep playing, bro. So so like that's
Be catching. You better be
that's
X something. You better not be X out.
yeah. So that's why whenever I play against my mom, I'm like, bro, you gotta keep trying, man. You know what I'm saying? Like you gotta keep trying. For both of us.
Please,
I'm
please.
like, I'll do my best to keep winning, and then if you keep winning too, who knows? Maybe it'll squeak in, you know?
But now usually on players travels back home because like you were mentioning being on the stream. I know they usually recall their best moves or the biggest brain plays that they performed at the tournament. Were there any best moves I would say that came from the event for you besides the achievement of being the first branded player to summon two gimmick puppets in
Um
a game?
Yeah. Yeah, so Yeah, obviously I did that for the memes, but I felt
Yeah.
like I was actually kind of sad because I played really well, and I wish they streamed some of the matches because I actually got debarriered game 3 in 3 different matches and I won every game I got debarriered. And you probably were probably like, yo, they're like, how is that possible? Like, how do you win? And basically, like, what ends up happening is so I was side decking evenly match. And so I would evenly match my opponent and I would gimmick puppet lock them through debarrier. And like the way you do it is this blew my opponent's mind. They were like, "No way!" I'm gonna give you the sauce. So after I evenly match my opponents, they basically like don't keep anything, right? Because they have barriers set, they don't keep any interruptions. They just hold follow up. Because in their heads is like, "Yo, what can you do when you get barriered, right? Like nothing." But so what I was doing is I would go like, so I'd evenly match my opponent, put them on not a lot of cards, but my opponent would keep follow up cards to play for the next turn. So I'd go like normal summon a Luber get high spirits. I'll activate Branded Opening to summon Quem. Quem will then Foolish Cartesia, and then I would activate High Spirits to dump Albaz to add a Mercurier, and then I would trigger the Quem because I use High Spirits to dump the Albaz and send Albion. Because the monster left my extra deck, the Quem would actually bring back the Cartesia, and then at end phase I would actually get to set red off the Albion. I would pass to my opponent.
And just play on
My
their turn.
opponent, yeah, so my opponent would go like Bonfire. I'm like, okay, no problem. Get your Snake Eye Ash. Then I would go like Resolution, activate Cartesia, fuse with the Luber to make Granguinol. Granguinol effect to send Puppet, activate Brandon Red, targeting the Albaz in my graveyard. Use that plus the Granguinol to make Sanctifier, and I would go Sanctifier, summon back the Aluber, and then summon back the Puppet to my opponent's side of the field, and Aluber gave me a Brand Fusion for next turn. And then my opponent just got
And
Puppet
you have
locked
McCurrier
after
protecting it
burying me.
too.
And I have Mercury protecting it too, yeah.
Oh,
So
okay, that's it. I like that. That is gooey.
yeah,
I
so
do like
I
the
did
fact that
that.
you can play in your opponent's turn too. Like that's just really, I think,
Yeah,
critical
yeah.
for
A
your
lot,
deck
a lot of my
builders.
opponents were literally like, "Bro, like, what just happened?" like,
I got gimmick
um,
locked anyway. What the fuck? I played D
yeah,
barrier. You were supposed to
basically,
stop.
yeah. I did that again in 3 separate matches, and like it was actually insane. And then one other match, I top deck cross out in a crazy grind game against Melodious, and I top deck cross out to call barrier because my opponent top deck barrier, but I top deck the cross out for his barrier. So it was insane because I went cross out called barrier, and he's like, "No way you sided that going second." I'm like, "Yep, I did." And then I cross out
100%.
called
I
his
used to do
barrier,
that
and
in
I,
Tenpai
I
as
killed
well.
him.
Just like, yeah, he thought you're getting me. Nope. Cross out called barrier.
Yeah.
GG's,
So I
fool.
think that was like the coolest part of my tournament experience. Never not having losing to barrier after getting barrier 3 times.
That's definitely, I think, something that I would remember too, especially when you're using the evenly like that to kind of bait it out too, because like they're gonna have to flip it then and there, otherwise, because they're not gonna keep it, obviously. So when you can flip it, so
Yep.
that's a good way to not only bait out a card that you want to play around anyway, but as well as clear a board to help make way for you to play. Like I like that. It's definitely some gooey shit. Austin, I hope you're listening. Is speaking of stuff like that, big plays like that. Is there any like I would say a special training regimen or like maybe particular practice methods that you use to both get prep for an event as well as just playtest practice, maybe with your buddies or something like that. Maybe you're helping someone else train for an event because like big plays like that, they come around from experience and salt, very veteran players. So
Um.
what's your training regimen
Yeah.
like? What gets you up there?
So I play a lot of dueling book. I think I climbed to like 1400 DB rating every season. And before every YCS, I probably get like 1400 top 10 DB every single time. I make an alt account so no one knows it's me, but I make an alt
Mhm.
account and then I usually grind DB a lot because that's the only way you really build up your technical play. But then like the plays that I just told you about wasn't actually something I actually ever did before. I kind of like figured out on the fly. But so like it's not just about like memorizing combos or anything like that. It's more about like, critical thinking. You have to like realize that, the potential of the cards in your deck, right? So I think that comes with like playing a lot. Like you might not master every interaction, but if you understand the underlying, concept behind like all of your cards, then you will have like scenarios that comes up that you might figure out a really sick play because you understand like all the interactions that your cards can have, right? Um, so I think that like it's just honestly for me, it's just a lot of DB practice. Like that's usually how I get playing. I don't really like playing in person or I don't care enough to like play at locals or in person. I know a lot of people like say they're like they prefer to play in person and test that way. But I don't think I don't think like that will help you get that much better because when you play at locals and stuff, you're playing the same people. Like, but at a YCS, you'll play people you never met before. So in order to simulate the most real tournament experience of a YCS, like it's better to just like what I tell people. Like I do coaching too on the side, and I would tell people like every day just hop on DB and play 12 DB matches. If you go 10-2 that day, you top the YCS. So that should be your goal. Um, and if you can do that like every single day, then I think like it'll make it pretty easy for you to top a YCS.
No,
It's
no,
not
I agree
exact
with
for
that.
sure, but that's kind of like what I usually tell people because you got to get those reps in. But when you, like I said, but you have to play against people you don't know, you've never met before. You don't know what non-engine they play. But when you play the same people at locals, it's like, yeah, that set probably droplets. He plays that all the time. You know what I'm saying? Or like, this
Mhm.
guy plays evenly match, so he's not really bluffing when he says enter battle phase. But you don't know that. Like I've told people enter battle phase, and they would, bro. They played around evenly
They
match,
shit
but
their
I didn't
plans.
even
Yeah.
have it.
Yeah.
I didn't even have it.
Eric Christensen does
Like,
that a lot. He was actually just in the
yeah,
Discord a little bit earlier. So shout
yeah,
outs to him. He actually goes to our locals all the time and talk about playing against a champion. There'll be times where you're at just top gun at a locals, just
yeah.
fucking around with your pet deck, and you're going against Eric, and he'll just go enter battle, and you're like, oh shit. I got
Yeah.
chain one, chain two, activate from the hand,
Yep.
special this out, yada yada, and then he
Yeah,
goes,
then I'm
all right,
like,
cool, yeah, main
talents?
phase, keep playing, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, literally, all right, activate talents, you know what I'm saying, like, so yeah, you're right, that does happen, and it's funny because you kind of answered another like question I usually ask all like the competitive players because I, for one, I mean not, I'll state the question first, and then we'll kind of pick sides either way. But the question that I usually ask competitive players is, what is the importance of locals to you? Some players, like we've had Paulie Aronson on, and he says that he doesn't even go to locals, and it's not that he doesn't like going to locals or he wants to support his local game store stuff like that. It's just that you don't get the quality training that you would for something like a YCS or something like that by going to locals, by playing a
Yeah.
smaller pool of people who don't really have a higher ceiling of the game, when you can go to some place like DB and grind out a higher skilled match against someone, and actually if you're losing to someone is when he said you're really learning. So if you can go to someone and lose on DB versus going to a locals, and like you go 4-0 at a locals with your your pet deck, and you think that you can go to a regional and top, but it's not really like that when you kind of go out there. So there are players like Paulie Anderson who are world champion that don't even really like going to locals. So, and then we have other players who thoroughly enjoy going to locals just because they enjoy getting the interaction. Whether it is, some people are saying that DB is really, really good for practice as far as like ceiling wise, but it doesn't really give you good technical play in person. You kind of have tell signs when you're picking up cards or when you're doing things, because when you're playing behind a screen, there's no one else reading you as a person. So like I know some people who go to locals just to get more personable training on their actions and their kind of call signs and shit like that. So it's kind of interesting to see where you stand, just because I do see some of your content. You kind of go to locals every once in a while and make the content for it to put online, but to see like
Yeah.
it's really locals is for the content, but it's not for the skill. It's that's
Exactly. For
where
me, I
the
just go
DB is
locals
for.
just to play something fun, just to relax. Like I don't,
Mm.
dude. I let all my opponents take back in locals. Like if you watch any of my local streams, I'm like, yeah, take it back. Like I don't care. Like it for me, it's like I'd rather have you play right. It's just locals. It's supposed to be stress free. Like I see a lot of people take locals like it's the finals of a YCS, and I'm like, bro, like what are you doing? Like what I'm saying? Like the whole point of like locals is to kind of just relax, chill, and just have some fun. That's why I always play like rogue decks at locals. Like you don't see me playing Snake Eyes at locals. I'd rather always like try something new. Like play something different because um I think that's just more enjoyable for me. It's just like a because for me like I still enjoy like that sort of that aspect of like casual Yu-Gi-Oh where like you just play just to play.
Yeah, just to have
But you'll
fun. Yeah.
see, yeah, just have fun. Yeah, so I think like a lot of people like miss that sometimes. Like they like what I'm saying. I think there's like a time and place I think for like different things, and I think local is a place where you just chill, just have fun. So I don't really take it too seriously. Like I'm just there to like try something new, play it for content. Yeah. So
You say you fuck
that's my
around on
thoughts.
DB, or do you, when you go on DB, it's like all serious, whether
Yeah,
you're
on
on your
DB,
alt art or your real one.
yeah, on my on DB I like definitely try a lot more, but I would say that like it's obviously like when you play like the DB matches, it's not just like because everyone grinds DB, but not everyone becomes like great at the game. Because like it's not just about like playing as many matches as you can. It's also about like after you play those matches, like what like are you taking anything away from them, right?
Yeah,
Like it's
retaining
not
the
just about
information.
yeah, it's not just about winning or losing the match. It's about like, okay, did you look over the replay and see what did you do well, what did you do wrong that match? Because some games that you do win, you could have still won, but you could have still made mistakes even though you won.
Mhm.
But a lot of people think because they won, it doesn't matter that they played bad. Like they're just like,
Yes,
oh, I won. Like, why
yes.
does it matter? But that's not like but there'll be a time and place where like you actually end up
It's
getting
gonna
punished
matter.
for yes, where it does end up mattering. So for
You
me, like
won
it
because
doesn't
your
matter if I
opponent
win or not.
wasn't as good. Yeah, exactly. You won because your
Yeah.
opponent
Or you just got
wasn't
lucky.
good
Yeah.
or got lucky. Yeah, not because of your
Yeah.
skill. There's gonna be a point in time where you're gonna have to win off skill, and you're not gonna do it because you didn't care. I think Brendan and speaking of it, Brendan and Devon, shout outs to Devon too. They go to regional runs every once in a while, especially ones that are close. And I think they met up with you and your homeboys at a couple of the ones that were out there in
Mhm.
Connecticut, if I'm not mistaken. But he was saying
Yeah.
I think he ran with your a boy that was playing Tempai, and you
Yep.
guys were all watching. Brendan was watching Devon, and then I think you were watching your boy. And when the match got over, Devon is that kind of player. Well, he will screen record his replays and then go watch over it. So I think he was sitting down with Brendan, like even right there in the match, like after game 3, and just sits there like, all right, well, what is the best play? Like, what did I lose to? What was the best route? How did I misplay? Did you see a better route? You know what I'm saying? And I think
Yeah.
that that is where you really start blossoming as a player, where the curiosity of how do I get better at this versus how do I win, that kind
Yeah.
of argument is I think where you really start to shine.
No, 100%. Yep. Exactly.
Yeah, so shout
That's
out to
like I
them.
feel
Yeah.
like how I got better as a player. Like cuz I'm still relatively newer. So for
Mhm.
me, I felt like that's how I improve because I'm always like thinking about okay, like I'm not really playing to win, I'm playing to like improve. And I think that's like a completely different mindset. Yep.
Stepping stone sometimes because I think we started playing around the same time. I started playing when what the fuck was this at Dark Neostorm was introduced, where Orca's
Oh,
players in
okay,
Toss
nice.
format got Dingirsu. It's like
Yeah,
2019 or some shit
I
like
started
that.
playing after Nats of 2019. So technically like that was after cuz I think Dark Nestron was April of 2019. Like I
Okay,
just
so
randomly
the
know
set
set dates.
after. Yeah,
but
I don't.
yeah, but yeah, I started playing that. I think I started playing right after Nats, but I did watch Nats. I just didn't play at the time, but I did watch it. I had no idea what was going on, but I did watch it because I was curious to see like how what it looked like. And of course, like my first time watching live Yu-Gi-Oh was literally the nationals of that year, but that was really cool.
And no, 100%. And that's what gets you like I think hyped and run into it because that's when I started playing like right around then. And when I see you go out there and I see you do all these events, even when you topped your first remote duel and everything like that, I'm like, damn, this motherfucker started playing back when I started playing and he's already topping remote YCSs. And oh damn, he's got a 3v3 top over here. Oh shit, he's over here on the same team with Kamal and the greats. Oh shit, he's over here networking with Jesse Cotton and shit. Well, in my head, as any other duelist probably does, it's like, all right, well, if he can do it, then I could put in the work and do it. And obviously, the key word is put in the work to do because it doesn't come particular. But I would argue you would be a different duelist if you were to have won your first couple events instead of bubbling out. If that need or want or pressure to keep getting better wasn't there, where like not to say necessarily God, but like I don't know, life and experience is telling you, now you're not quite there yet. Go back and alter a few things. Then you go back and bubble again. Now you're not quite there yet. And obviously you think you're there, but it's not until you obviously go and win and you see how much hard work really takes to go and win out at an event and come out on top that you see like, damn, all right, I wasn't ready back then. Like now I'm ready. Now I have the experience. What I went through before put me to where I am now. You know what I'm saying? Type deal. So I would agree with you.
Yeah.
I think that's good.
So you want to know something crazy? So I guess if anyone watches my content, they'll realize that when IRL events actually came back into play after COVID, I bubbled the first 5 YCSs in a
Mm.
row. Like, and keep in mind, like, I put in a lot of effort for all these YCSs, but I didn't do well. Like, I just couldn't make top cut. And a lot of people would be like, "Damn, like, dude, like, maybe he just sucks. Like, maybe he can't play in person or whatever." But but and then from my perspective, right, I could have easily just blamed it on like so many factors. Oh, I just got sacked, like blah blah blah, all these excuses, right? But I always tell people like the honest truth is that when I look back at those 5 YCs that I didn't top, where I lost the last round, I actually misplayed almost every single one. Like, all right, like I literally choked at the end. But I think you have to just be willing to admit that to improve. Because for instance, like Gunther, for example, I actually played him on the bubble at my first YCS ever, and I
Christian
didn't
Urena,
Ashes
right?
Phantasme. Yeah, Gunther, yeah, Christian Urena, yeah. So
For
I
those who
played
don't
him at
know.
my first. He's like a really good friend of mine now, and we knew each other at the time back then. Not as well as we do now, obviously, but I didn't Ashes Phantasma, and he drew Nib to stop me from OTK, and I lost the match because of that. So, and that's like an example of where like I just zoned out. I because for my head, I'm like, I don't need the Ashes. I have OTK anyways. I just didn't think about the possibility of drawing into Nib. Like, but that's a good example. Or another one was where like I misplayed my hand traps and I lost to Sword Soul on the bubble after finishing day one X1, I think, and I lost two in a row. I did get sacked the last round,
Oof.
but I always tell people I'm like I did get sacked the last round to not top, but I misplayed the round before that to put myself in that predicament,
In a
if that makes
position,
sense.
yeah, exactly, where
Yeah,
you
I put
were
myself
not
in the
able
position
to
to get
force.
sacked. I could have just sealed the
Exactly.
deal and
Yes.
guaranteed top cut the round before, but I punted, and now like I'm getting like I got unlucky the last round. It is what it is.
And it's even more, I think, unlucky, or I would say bad jujus, because I do it as a player sometimes too. I had to really change this mentality of it, of like letting a misplay like that, a punt that you clearly know that you fucked up and it's gonna make that big difference. I need to learn to just let that shit go sometimes, because I'll be the type to go X1 day one, lose the first round day two, get pissed off that I just lost, and then take that energy into the next round and then lose again. And then now I'm like, damn, coming through trying to find excuses or something like that just because I'm mad I lost the last round. Where you were right. If you just played better in that first day, or that second day, that first round, you would have been in a better position to play better in the next round. So I agree with you.
Exactly.
Like, and
Yep.
if people don't want to take that pill of humility, and I think that's the best pill for some people to take, accountability and responsibility for not only your deck building but your actions, your gameplay, your knowledge, your ability to read your opponent. All that shit comes down to you. Like, there's no other excuse but you being you. Like, even if you brick, that comes down, maybe you didn't shuffle correctly, maybe you didn't pile shuffle beforehand, maybe your deck building is, your ratios are
Yeah.
off and you're just not seeing, like, there's always something that can be improved. It's never just like blind luck. Like, yeah, there's like a very slim percentage where that is the case, but for the most part, if you take accountability for your own actions and be like, damn, like, even as simple as what we were talking about earlier, saving a replay and just watching your plays, especially knowing, seeing your opponent's hand. I think that's the best way to go around it too, because you can see if your opponent's actually pretty good too,
Yeah.
or if they were just doing things incorrectly, and that's why I've lost to players because I'm playing someone who I think is going to ash at the appropriate time and doesn't, and now I'm all fucking sidestepping and stumbling because they're just a bad player, and I'm taking the reaction of that. You know what I'm saying? But there's times where you got to just
Yeah.
take that accountability pill and just swallow and be like, all right, how do I improve as a better, make sure that this doesn't happen again, or I put myself in a
I
position
actually have
where
a
I'll never
crazy
have it.
story
Yeah.
of this exact same thing that I tell people, which is so when I won YCS, I believe Sao Paulo with Unchained,
Mhm.
um so I was the only person who played Unchained in my 3v3 team. Kamal played Pearly and then Ruben played Dragon Link. But I think that was the first YCS that I guess anyone ever took to, like that was the first YCS that anyone ever took Unchained to a YCS, right? And I felt really comfortable with it. So the week after that was YCS Vancouver, and I decided to play Unchained again because I thought it was like the best deck. Of course, I actually ended up going X3, and I went. I lost on the last round, which if I won, I would have topped because all X2s made it that YCS. And a lot of people would have been like, "Dude, like what happened? Like, dude, you just won the YCS the week before with Unchained. Like, how did you not top this time around?" And a lot of people I think in my position would have blamed it on luck, saying like, you just bricked, like because I did brick. I actually legitimately bricked three matches in a row, where I just didn't draw a play at
Called
all.
brick
Not in a row,
pains.
but
I
like
do under, yeah.
yes, but what people don't realize was I played 45 cards. I don't even know what possessed me. I decided to add more cards to my Unchained deck and I actually ended up breaking, um but I took that wisely as a lesson to like, okay, wait a second. Like I did brick, which is unfortunate, but I that was controllable. Like it wasn't I played really well. That Wisest I probably played the best Unchained I've ever played. It was actually better than the week before. Like I actually played that deck like crazy. But it just didn't matter because I can't put myself in a position to even get to play the game because I'm bricking, right? So Fast forward, the week after that was YCS Cancun. I took like I did like a lot of self reflection. I was like, okay, I know how to play this deck really well. Like my technical play with this deck, I feel like was insane. So what can I do to like make my tournament experience better? Like what did I really lose to? Oh, dude, my deck wasn't the most consistent it could be. So YCS Cancun, I played a 40 card Unchained deck, maximum consistency. I topped that YCS like it was like the freest top of my life. Like I'm not even joking. It was like it was so I didn't open unplayable once, and I won every single match. Like it was insane. And okay, here's the
Can't ask
irony.
for
The
more
irony
than
is in
that.
yeah, but in the irony is in top 32 I actually did break and I lost because of it. But hey, at that point I
You get
can't be
all the way
mad,
there
right?
just to yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
mean,
at that
you won
point
14 rounds at that point. You know what I'm saying? Without breaking.
yeah, so so I'm like, okay, sure. Okay, I made it 40 cards. Like I can make it 37. Like upstarts at one. I played three prosperity already. Like I already made it the most consistent it could be, right? So at that point, it's like, okay, that is variance. Like that's it is what it is. Like I'll take that L, sure, no problem. But you have to make sure that you actually did do everything possible, you know? That's like because I knew that at Vices Vancouver when I didn't top, I didn't do my deck justice. Like I played 45 cards for no reason because I was attached to cards like Soul of Disaster. Like I wanted to put the dog in my deck because I just love the card. But I have to, sometimes you have to be more pragmatic and be like, hey, that shit is a brick, bro. Like it's a good card, but if I don't even want to take I actually drew that card every game. I think I drew that card like 6 out of my 12 or 6 out of 11 rounds of Vancouver. It
Damn,
was
really? That's
unbelievable.
crazy.
So I'm just like, okay, it is what it is. Yeah.
I mean, speaking of it, I think we can kind of take that and go into the next topic. Like, what makes you run the decks you do for events, and or why do you choose not to particularly use the meta, like i.e. Snake Eyes or the best deck of the format? Like, what makes you not only decide to not play meta, but then pick the decks that you do pick?
I For me, like obviously, like I won with the Snake Eyes deck. Like I like,
Mm,
and I think that deck is when I played it at the time, a lot of players were playing it as well, but they didn't know how to really play it. So that was my competitive edge. Like the fact that I knew how to play the Snake Eyes deck better than my opponent because I just put in more time. Like when it came to the YCS, like I didn't lose a single mirror. I actually went undefeated the entire YCS. Like I didn't lose a single round. Like I just need Kamal Rubin to win once. Like that was literally that was the wisest in
go
Costa Rica.
mode.
I did not
Yeah.
lose a single match. And and um and I played I think all mirrors. I played all mirrors except one. I think one I played one full unrees or something like that. No, but the point I was trying to make was that at that time the competitive edge was my technical play was better and my list was better than most people at the time. The issue is as time went on and YCS Vegas the week after that, right? I ended up getting second with my team with Snake Eyes again, and people still didn't know how to play the deck. So that's why we were to make it that far because like if you really think about it, there's no competitive edge in Snake Eyes Mirrors at the moment. Like
Yeah, yeah.
it's literally hand comparison. Like if you really think about it, like
That's
it
the
does not
format now, right?
take
Yeah.
much like thinking to imperm Snake Eye Ash. Like it really there's no if you have bonfire, yes, no. But back
Yeah,
then,
literally.
people were like not hand trapping correctly, bro. Like it was like at these Weisses in Vegas and Costa Rica, for example, people would hold impermanence for cards like Populous. Like they would let Snake Eyes Ash go. Some people don't even imperm Witch. And I would win because of that, because they wouldn't imperm Witch, they would imperm the Ash that I summon off of Witch, but they forget crucial information such as the fact that now there's an original in my graveyard, so I don't need a top deck for next turn.
And now I've
I
got a
have three
follow
hand
up
traps
and
in
a
my hand.
+1.
Yeah, so I get a draw if I open wanted, and I have like usually three hand traps if I'm passing at that point. That if I stunt you from playing, my next turn I just go original effect and I'm like you're dead. Like that's all it
Back
takes.
in, yeah.
And but that's like the little minor nuance, which is like the competitive edge, right? My issue is that like as time went on, like Raleigh and Indy, I decided to play Despia because I thought that like at least there was some sort of edge there, in the sense that like I didn't always lose to hand traps. Like when I went first, like if you have what's one imperm, I'm probably puppet locking, to be quite honest. And if I went second, the board breakers were really good into like the snake eye boards. If if your engine is strong enough to break the rest of like the board, right? Like for example, like Promethean Princess as an interruption is a vanilla against Despia. It doesn't do anything. What do you know what I'm saying? If I what are you popping? Nothing. There's nothing to pop. Like and so that's why I was like, okay, I think there's some like opportunity there. Um and I just didn't want to play the Snake Eyes mirror. And I knew that like at the end of the day, Snake Eyes is still the
Okay.
best deck because it doesn't take a lot for that deck to do. It doesn't take much for that deck to do a lot. But I just didn't want to play because I just didn't feel like if I played it, like that I was that much like I had an edge pretty much. And I feel like I always try to look for edges whenever I enter a YCS. And if I can't find one in the deck, then I'm just not gonna play. Like I saw no edge in Snake Eyes mirror. Like
Is there a difference when you choose your deck choice for, I guess, a 3v3 compared to when you go for just yourself? Because like when you go for
n-
yourself, I feel as though like you have more
um
of just like your own thoughts, your own experiences, your own theories, your own testing. That's to
so
yourself, but like you don't
so
want to like let down
yeah,
your team.
that's a good question. So I told Kamal and Ruben, I'm like, yo, we should all play the same deck. Like it doesn't make sense that one person plays anything different because like that just means that if we don't all play the same deck, that just means you don't think that my deck is the best deck in the room. Like we have to agree that there is a best deck in the room, and if there is a best deck in the room, then
And we
everyone
need to
should
be
play the
playing
same
it.
deck.
Yes.
Right. So I'm like, yo, this is my list. I actually the Unchained deck that I the not the Unchained, the Snake Eyes deck that I made, I didn't actually test with Ruben or Kamal as much, believe it or not. I actually tested with Gunther and Walter more, and they were actually on another team in Luca. They were on another team, a 3v3 team. But I told him like, yo, this is the list that I think we should play, and I think we should all play it. And they agree. They like trusted me enough. They were like, yeah, let's run it, and the rest was history. But the point that I'm trying to make is that it doesn't matter if it's a 3v3 or a 1v1. It's the fact that like there is, in theory, every Y says there's only one best deck, and you either
Yeah.
play it
Always.
or you don't play it, right? And maybe the thing that's important to note is that the best deck isn't always the best, the best choice though. That's also another thing.
Mhm.
Like you can have a best deck that might not be a good choice. Like a good example of that is like Kashtira. I think Kashtira during cash format was the best deck, but it wasn't the best choice because look at the Cashmeres. What was the edge? Like you know what I'm saying? Like you
The
went
ability to go
second, your
first, look
opponent
at your opponent's rips. Yeah, rip out their extra deck. That's about it.
yeah, like there was no edge. Like it was actually like super scary actually. Um that's why like during cash format, but if you looked at my YCS history, I didn't play cash a single time during the whole YCS that cash was legal, but I think I topped every single YCS except one during cash format. But I never played cash because I just didn't think that that deck was a good choice to play because I felt that there is no edge playing that deck. So for me, like whenever I pick a deck for YCS, I always want to make sure that there is an edge because if there isn't, like then it's just I'm just putting it up to luck at that point, and I don't want to do that pretty much.
That's fair. I was just wondering, just because I know like there's times where you'll go to a YCS with a team YCS and then play Snake Eyes, and then maybe like you'll go and play Pearly, and then like maybe for this YCS you're playing Branded. And I know that it comes from, as you just said, just not wanting to play the mirror, and I can understand that in any format. Tier format, people argue that was like the best peak of Yu-Gi-Oh. I never really liked that mirror. It was a lot going on. The intricacies mattered to like the smallest minute point. Your chain links had to be remembered. There was just a lot going on.
Yeah.
Some people like that shit, which is fair. You know what I'm saying? I'm not knocking them. That was a little too much for me. Snake Eyes, I think, is the
Yeah,
perfect
yeah.
like balance of having the ability to do a lot, but not having the ability of going too far over the top. This is, unstoppable. It is the best deck in the room by far because it's really aggro when you need it. It can go mid range. It's got, powerhouses. His toolbox is very, very big. It's got a lot to going for it, which is why it's the best deck in the room. But that doesn't mean that, as you say, it's the best pick. There's times where there's other
Yeah.
decks that top. It's not like all of the top cut for all 32 players was Snake Eyes, because there were other things. Tempai was in there, Melodious was in there, Voiceless Voice I think is still a strong deck that's in there. So like there's other decks that can compete. And I was just wondering to see how you break it down. Do you break it down to
Yeah.
what I want to play or what I think is good
Mhm.
to play?
But that's why yeah, I think that like right now like I think that like I also kind of lost like a lot of like motivation to play this format because of how much the mirrors of like variance. I'll give you a good example. Like Christian Drena, like two back-to-back Snake Eyes YCS champion, right? He literally lost in what's the last YCS Indy? He went X2 by like round 6 or something. Like he was out the tournament. And arguably he's one of the best Snake Eyes player in the room, but he couldn't top. Why? Because literally he played the mirror, he just got hand trapped, he passed, his opponent just killed him. And 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 I guess that's the point I'm trying to make here is that like there's no edge. Like you just have to hope you get a little bit lucky and you play your best. But I don't want to do that. I don't want to get hope to get lucky. I want to get that competitive edge, right? But that's just like an
Okay.
example of like someone who's literally won back to back YCS this season with Snake Eyes can't top one of the YCSs.
True.
I'm not even saying he has to win again. I'm just saying there's make top cut,
Yeah, no,
right?
100%. Like, could even make
And
top
that's
cut
like
of the next event because
yeah,
of like how solved this
yeah,
format is. It's like there is no edge. Like, I think the craziest
exactly.
quote unquote edge you saw was that what is it? Trans metal or Metaltronus or whatever
Metatronus,
it
but
was. Yeah, Metaltronus. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
but that wasn't even an edge because at YCS Rio, people like which was literally months ago, they people did profiles. If you just watched the deck profile, you would have seen it was in people's side deck. Like it wasn't even that crazy. Like literally all you have to do is watch the deck profiles. Like
I've
the
never.
disciples, the guys like my
Yeah,
boy
the goaded.
Gabriel Nets,
Yeah,
he
Jess,
he
all them.
played it inside and yeah, I'm telling you, it was in the side deck, right? Like they put it out there. So it's at that point it's on you. Like it's like it's a due diligence of the people. Um
Practicing and getting out there. Yeah.
yeah, and yeah, so that's where I'm at.
Are there any last I would say thoughts or occurrences from YCS Indy that you wanted to mention or kind of brush up on before we close out the topic? I just thought that the stream itself ran way smoother than it usually did, and I'm really a big fan of the inclusion of these side feature streams for us to watch after the main event or the mainstream duel has ended. I think that that's a good inclusion. It keeps people uh, interested in the stream itself. It's not boring. You're not just watching a whole bunch of people sitting there, playing their matches or being goofballs in front of the screen. But is there anything else I think from the YCS that you thought was notable?
No, just congrats to Paulo for becoming a four-time YCS champion. I think it's well deserved. You can see that like those people put in a lot of time. And I always like seeing people who put in the time get rewarded. So for me, that's always like a nice reassurance. So I think that's really sick. Um, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Indy has really good food, so if you guys are ever in the area, you guys have to like. If you guys ever get a chance to go to Indy, you should go. Not for the Y6 because Y6 sucks there. The venue is awful, but the food there is crazy. So I have to
I
say,
agree with
like,
that.
I ate well. The southern food is
Yeah.
no joke.
Our boys went to like basically like a Texas Day Brazil that was out there. Eric
Yeah,
and Brendan and all of them. So they had a good time. They said it was a great vibe. Like the food was really good. The atmosphere was awesome. And like obviously the competition wasn't as good as the night before, but they had a good time. It was a good spot for them.
yeah.
But moving on from YCS now, we're gonna have a couple of topics before we close out tonight's episode. This next one comes from us, from basically from Konami, as they drop a couple news bombs from us from last week. One of them being the reveals from OTS 25 that's be coming up June 12th, which will be basically the day after drop, as listeners are hearing from a day of, to all OTS holders. This OTS is confirmed to have the ultimate rare of Snake Eyes Ash, Diviner of the Herald, and the head of Exodia, the Forbidden One. And it's also revealed to us that we'll be receiving a couple supers as far as Fire King Island, as well as the import of the Infernoid token. For those who don't know, we only get tokens on our OTS up to the pool that the OCG already has. So if the OCG doesn't have that token already, then we don't even expect to get it into TCG. But we are now getting our imported Infernoid token for those players out there. So what are your thoughts for the reveals of this OTS? You feel as though like it was kind of out of touch? Did you
Trash.
like these? Or something like that? I figured so. I mean, a
Dude,
lot of these
trash,
people
bro.
have the same thoughts on it. I mean, if you were to give out one of the OTS ultis, what would you replace one of these with? And then what would you replace it? What would you take out? And then what would you replace it with? I should ask.
Um, I will take out all of them because these cars are cool, but like they're not that cool. Like bro, there's so many like cards that could like use super like ulti prints. I don't know. I'm not sure which one, but like for example, like Snake Eye Ash being ulti like doesn't match Snake Eye Oak. Like you know what I'm saying? It's just weird. Like I'd rather have a QCR Ash, Snake Eye Ash, you know?
Same
At that
thing with
point.
Fenrir too. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yes.
Ultimate Rare Fenrir meant nothing with the Ultra Unicorn that you had to play next to it. You know?
Yeah, literally. So like it just I don't know, it just looked not as great, I guess. I think I would like talents. Talents as an ultimate rare would be really sick. If I had to pick
Yeah, yeah.
one. I know the card has like QCR print and Starlight prints, but like it just reminds me of like cards like droplets, you know, like having like a droplets being an ulti print is like really sick. I also think I'm trying to think of like anything else. I'm trying to think of like the
No,
hand
that's would be
traps right
pretty
now.
cool. Someone said
Oh, Ghost
evenly
Mourner.
matched. Ghost Mourner, I
Yeah,
think would be a nice one.
yeah, Ghost Mourner ulti. And then because
OG
like
print,
like
right?
having yeah, like having all the ultis and like having all the hand traps in ulti would be really nice because you pretty much can get them all QCR now, but can you get them all ulti? But
Yeah,
evenly
yeah,
match is
that
also a
is.
good one. Yeah, evenly match. Dark
I
Ruler
thought
No
that was
More
one
could
as
be a nice
well.
ulti. That shit would actually look crazy
Ooh.
as an ulti. I can
Yeah, I
imagine
think
that.
that would go dumb hard with the
Yeah,
foil
or like a good
indentation.
one is also like Promethean Princess. Like that's a really solid staple in the meta game. Like
Mm.
ulti print of that would be nice. Um, and you don't really see ulti fusion monsters that often, right? Like if you think about it, like when's the last time you saw an ulti fusion monster? It's
Yeah,
not
I
that
mean, I mean, I
often.
mean, I can think of a
The
couple,
old school
but the
ones.
last one,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, like it's like construct and shit like that. Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
But yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, now that I'm thinking about it, I think you're right. I haven't seen the last fusion monster ulti.
A good
Uh,
example, another good one would be like the Ubel Loving Defender ulti, right? Like that's a sick
okay, anything
card.
from you about too? They're going crazy right now.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, right? Like I'm trying to think like maybe an Unchained card because of like, you know, the
Well,
Ubel
they did put
Unchained stuff and
Shareva or Sarava as a super in the last
Shavara.
one.
Shavara's a super
Shavar,
now.
yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so I mean, I can
Right.
understand them not putting it in this one, but even still, like these ultis were just so out of time. I mean, I understand the Exodia had it because we have Infinite Forbidden coming up and it's the next core set and they want to like hype that up and whatever like that. But I guarantee you there's gonna be another part of the fucking Exodia piece that's gonna be like high rarity. They already have the QCR head, they don't need another OT head. This like you said, ultimate rare could have gone to any other card that didn't already have a printing. Like or talents to match the thrust and shit like that. Another hand trap or like the OG printing, even other staples like Dark Ruler No More evenly. Like it could have gone to anything, but for them to go for Exodia Head was just out of touch. Diviner was weird. I was okay with Diviner, although it was weird until the reveals from Terminal World, which we'll get into next episode for those who are listening today. Don't worry about that, today, but just know that it was leaked today, and Diviner is in there as a QCR as well as an Ultra. So for them to also have an OTS version of it like the week before the QCR releases just seems ridiculous to me. And then Snake Eyes Ash, as you said, it's just out of place. It seems like they're gonna hit the deck afterwards. Like they're gonna make the Snake Eyes Ash ulti, let them, suck it up as much as they can, and then, tap the deck after Nad season, because I think that's just super three out of touch hits. The supers are going to have to carry it, and I just think that Fire King Island alone being a super isn't going to do it. I don't know. Do you think that there are some supers we might get upgrades for that haven't been named yet?
Yeah, Delicious Memory could use a super print.
That's only a rare, right?
Yeah, it only comes rare. Another really sick one that I like, but I don't think they'll ever do is Dark End Dragon for Edison fans. I think that could be a really
Oh,
sick
okay.
super print. And
That's a
then
synchro, right? I don't
that's
play
a
Edison.
synchro. Yeah,
Okay,
that's a
okay.
synchro. And then any other super print? I'm trying to think like what cards even like the 10 pie monsters should all be
You,
super.
you think? In an
I, I
OTS?
think I think all the Tenpai monsters being super could be nice. Like Chandra not being super is criminal. And that's like
True.
one of the best ones. I someone would argue that's literally better than Hydra. But it's
No,
also one of
I
the only
like
it's
Chandra.
also the only tuners in the deck.
Yeah, it's very crucial. It's a
So
key point.
you literally need it. Um yeah, so that kind of stuff, yeah.
Those are definitely some supers. I can see at least being in like the next one. I don't think it would be in this one. That would be like Konami actually paying attention to what its player base wants. But shit, you never know. But also dropped to us from Konami, we have the visuals for the mats for players this year for the NAWQ CQ season. And let me just say that I personally think that they are flames. They're actually like flames. I like both of them. The first one is a participation mat, which is given free to any player who enters and attends this year's national event, along with this year's national color pack of sleeves. It usually just says like World Championship qualifiers. It's got a super unique color about it and like a swirl or whatever like that, and they hand it to you free for entering along with that mat. It has been revealed to be the Vanquish Soul mat, and goes along with the lore of the characters, basically being like characters in a video game, where you see all of them being like almost in like a select your character mode, where you can kind of pick between Rosin and the new one. I forget the one that special summons. It's when something's revealed, but there's a
Oh,
whole bunch of them that come out.
yeah, there's a whole bunch of them. Yeah, I know which one
Yeah,
you're
I think
referring to
it's
because
lit.
it's also escaping me, to be honest. I don't even
Yeah, it just
remember.
run. I don't. I remember it begins with an A, but I just can't remember the actual name. My boy Trent plays it. Shout out to Trent. He's the mod for the Discord. He went to that regional for in Rhode Island. So we were playtesting. So I know the name. I just fucking can't remember it. But the Nationals Top Cut mat, let me tell you, which is given out free, but only to players who manage to make the top cut of an event, basically day 2, has been shown to us be the card art for Infinite Impermanence. And let me tell you, that shit looks fucking clean. As a Cyber Dragon enthusiast, I am absolutely in love with that Impermat, and I will be forcing my friends to go all the nats just so that they can top, so I can get my hands on this one. Shit, I might rob Pack. He'll get top cut. He'll be catching me in a dark alleyway. I'm like, all right, up the Impermat, buddy boy. You know what I'm saying? But how are these mats
Yeah.
sitting with you? Are they flame? Are they lame?
I,
Are you liking
I
them?
like Imprim a lot. I thought that like in 2022 Nats they had the evenly match mat. If you remember that one,
Yeah, I do remember that one. That
I
was lit.
really like the trap mats. I think they look sick. Like Infinite Impermanence is such an iconic card, bro. Like it's
Looks
just
so clean.
and in like that mouse pad form, as I would call it. Like, is basically what I call these play mats.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. These are the
Um,
ones. Yeah.
they it looks insane. That's like definitely my. I actually keep all my play mats from YCS and that. So um
Really, you don't sell
so
them?
hope yeah, I actually don't sell them. So I think that would be a cool addition to the collection.
You just bust them out like when you do go to locals. You just have like a whole collection of just stacking up mats
No,
that just sit there.
I have a in the corner of my room. I have a stack of mats. So
There it is. I know it's always like that, boy. A couple of
I
our
mean,
regional guys who go get their
yeah,
mats, they have the same thing. A stack of mats just sitting on their desk, man. They'll be, yo,
stack
just
it
do
up.
something with
Yep.
them. All right, but I'm taking up a lot of his time, so let's do the last closing segment for today's episode, and that is going to be the People's Choice segment. So, for those who don't know or are new to the podcast, People's Choice is where we give you, the viewer, the ability to ask questions ahead of time to our guests. For them to be asked on the podcast, for you to hear basically the answers to the questions that you may want to be having in store. So, if you'd like to be a part of it in the future, People's Choice segments can be participated in by joining our Discord server, provided in the Linktree link below, and going to the People's Choice Questions text channel and dropping your questions there. You can also feel free to put down if you'd like to remain anonymous or if you'd actually like to shout yourself out, because we can do both for you, no big deal. But to start this off, we have a question here from one of our boys, Mel and Nick, from our brother sister podcast over at Heart of the Podcast. And they've asked first, what deck do you credit with first giving you started in competitive Yu-Gi-Oh? And which deck would you say you'd credit with building your competitive skill up overall? And then the second one we have is, do you feel like the ban list is balanced for the game or a way to push new product as the main agenda of Konami? And is there any cards you'd personally move on or off it? So let's go with the first one first. What deck do you credit first getting you into competitive Yu-Gi-Oh? And then what do you credit giving you the most competitive skill overall by mastering?
I think Altergeist was the deck that. So I won my first quote unquote major event, at least with like a lot of top players, was like PPG Nationals, and I won that
Mm,
with Altergeist. But that deck taught me a lot about how to like really do a lot with not a lot. Because I was playing a trap deck and it was full power spirals, but I was able to beat. I actually beat Kamal and Ruben in top cut back to back. Um,
mm.
but I actually, but this is like I actually misplayed against Kumo, but I ended up winning anyways. But that's like you said, that's an example of like sometimes you win when you messed up because
Your
my
bonus is not up there.
he's got unlucky with his call. He called like a trap and he hit a spell. And I only had like 4 spells in my deck, so it is
I'll be like,
saying
oops. So anyway,
it is it's unfortunate, but that
yeah.
that event really kind of like started everything. I think Simo did a deck profile with me, and then because I at that time I've only been playing the game for 3 months, so for some random guy to come beat
Coming to
all
a
the top
PPG.
players and
Yeah.
then win the PPG nationals, I think I took home like 5K or some amount of money in cash too, because that was like a cash prizing tournament.
Oh
And
shit.
the meme is that I qualify. I showed up there without an invite, so I actually did a last chance qualifier the day before, and then just like
Really? I
ended
didn't know
up.
this.
Yeah, I literally showed up with no invite because my friend was like, "Yo, you want to come?
And
Going to
fucking won
Florida
it
and play
all.
this
That's
tournament?"
crazy. They're probably go,
Yeah,
who the fuck is this no invite nigga coming in here
yeah,
watching us
yeah,
all up? What is it? Who's playing altar guys? Who's this guy?
yeah, yeah. So that's kind of like the meme, I guess. But I main deck evenly match. That event with sphere modes, so it was like really crazy.
Mhm.
Obviously, and then and then in terms of the deck that really I would say made me learn Yu-Gi-Oh was Prank Kids because it's a
Ooh.
one card combo deck, but for a deck with like a very linear one card combo, um, it's basically very similar to Snake Eyes. Like I would call Snake Eyes basically an evolved version of Prank Kids, and I guess that's why I did well with Snake Eyes. But
Mhm.
um, that deck was really good at like just making me learn like I guess like the technical play that is with these sort of like one card combo decks, like how to like play to survive. Because your end board against it at that moment in time, the Pranket end board was like 2 Regekis. Like it wasn't anything too crazy. So you had to like really play to like survive and play for the grind game, which is like a lot of people usually when they play Yu-Gi-Oh, they want to like make the most oppressive board, make sure you can play the game. But I was building a board that gave my chance, always gave my opponent a chance to interact, which was a lot different than what a lot of other players were doing. They were playing Dytron. Drytron, remember if they made like some crazy ass
I do
board,
remember Drytron.
you can't
Drytron
play the
full power
game.
was crazy. Yeah, you're just not playing it. It was not
Um,
fun.
yeah, I'm just trying to think like Virtual World. They Calamity do. So and
Yeah.
I'm just here like, yeah, normal summon prank kid, like so my opponent always had the chance to play the game. They never got locked out. And so as a result, like when you and your opponent are both interacting, you like I guess like that's where like I feel like the most fun in Yu-Gi-Oh is because like you're both like getting a chance to play. That's why sometimes I play decks like Despot and I have a blast because like I'm not hand trapping you, you make your board, and then now we're gonna like try to both get a chance to play the game, right?
Yeah, you just find out
Obviously
who's better
sometimes you get
as a pilot too, you know?
yeah.
Yeah, you just have to like yeah, just be better than your opponent in the way of like allowing them to I would say when there are formats like this, like Snake Eyes, where it's like one card combos and a whole bunch of hand traps, I was even decks like Tempai. I was saying locally when there's like something like I have 4 hand traps and a 1 card starter, it really does allow you to get better as a like player, like technical wise. When you have to learn how to use your hand traps in the correct way, like there's a way to just
Yeah.
throw your hand traps at your opponent, and then there's a way to properly use each ash. Like you know what I'm saying? Yeah, you can ash branded opening, yeah, you can ash fusion deployment, but the proper ash
Mhm.
is branded fusion. You know what I'm saying? So like there's just that comes with experience and learning and being and as you said an interactive format, not a you're locked out, you're not playing. All right, cool. Let me scoop my cards up. All right, I'm gonna put up this board where you're not playing. All right, it's cool. Let me scoop my cards up like that. No one's really learning anything there. So I do agree with like that's kind of like a key aspect to having
Yeah.
a good format, I would say, or a healthy format. Let's just say.
Yep.
And then the second part of that question would be: do you feel like the ban list is a balance to the game or a way to push product for the
Hell
agenda of
no.
Konami?
Snake has best deck still. Um, and in terms of agenda, I mean, yeah, of course, they're a company. They need to make money. So when they ban stuff, they're not gonna ban like Wanted. Not gonna ban like these
Mm.
cars. Obviously, that's why you didn't see them get hit because the set just came out. They need to make money off these product, right? So for them, it wouldn't make sense for them to ever hit those type of cars. But now that as we're approaching like another season, another Nats season, whatever, or Nats season about to end, all that good stuff. Yeah, it's probably gonna get hit relatively very soon.
Yeah,
So, but
I
obviously,
I'd
like
agree so.
they're not gonna hit stuff if something just came out. It doesn't make sense, you know.
No, I agree, but I know some people argue that like, oh, the ban list is because the cards are too powerful, and that's why they wind up on it. But some people argue like, no, cards wind up on the ban list because they want to deter people to play other things at a certain point in time when they're just so happen to be dropping product for it, or a different avenue, or a different like top deck type deal. So I agree. Like, yeah, some people do be wanting to be the ban list to be about balance, but it's really just about that bottom dollar. And then it looks like we
Yep.
have our next question coming here from Sage Killer, our last guest on the pod, and he asks, "When can we expect to see a minimum rarity deck profile from the legendary?" Yeah, Mister High Rarity guy over there.
I do it sometimes, like with balling on a budget. I play all low already, but it just depends.
So do you aim to purposefully get the lowest rarity of the card, or is it just within a budget, but you still try to get your hollows?
I usually try to play max rarity every event because when your deck looks nice, if you're losing, at least you got something nice to look at.
Yo, at least if I'm losing, nigga, at least I'm shining, boy.
Yeah, exactly.
That's crazy. And then we have our last question comes to us from my man Vengeful Shadows. And he asks, as a YCS winner, what is your opinion of better prize support system that Konami can incorporate while maintaining a Yu-Gi-Oh themed prize pool?
Bro, it's so simple. Just make full art like Ash Ultimate Rare Ash Blossoms. Like, where's that? Like making that like a top cut YCS exclusive. Like it's actually really easy. I think Konami just refuses to make the prize support better. But yeah, prize support sucks in this game. Like winning a
Mhm.
YCS is good, getting top 32 at Larcana or something. It's just absurd.
Yeah, I was about to say,
Um
like, in comparisons with like Pokemon and Lorcana, like even like their cash prizing, even like you were just saying, the PBG has even got like a 5K cash prize out. Like, but
yeah.
like these like events, they don't have shit. Like, you think that you even think a cash incentive would like incentivize people to like play
Nah, it
harder or do more?
nah, it doesn't need to be cash. Like it just needs to be like really cool product. Like I think Ultimate
Like
Rare Ash
what?
Bombs would go for like bro, Ultimate Rare Ash Bombs would go like 2, 3K a piece, and they would sell very quick. And you would give that to all of top 8, for example, right? And then maybe like the winner gets a playset. Like that is a good way to like make make high rarity cards like paywall behind like YCS
Yeah,
winners or something.
pops. Yeah,
Because like yeah, or like make it like a meta relevant card. But don't make it like a crush card. Don't make it like a card that like you can only get if you top a YCS or something or win a YCS, but make it a card that is already existing in the game, but just make it a nice rarity that you can only get if you top or win this YCS, right? Because people are gonna chase them. Like people are gonna want like a playset of Ash. They're gonna want like a playset of YCS Veilers or like I'm saying
yeah,
YCS. Like let's say you win the YCS, you get a Appaloosa in this crazy ass rarity, right? Like Ultimate Rare Appaloosa, like that would go crazy. Like an Ultimate Rare YCS Appaloosa, I'd go crazy. People would pay a lot of
yeah.
money for that, right? So I think that would be a good way to like make price sport better, while not making the game like pay to win or anything like that, right?
No, no, no. I can see that. I was just more thinking. All right, so I had an argument because we were just talking about Eric Christensen, and it's kind of weird that we were talking about it because I could get your opinion on it too. When the what is it, Outer World Glutonia, I think is whatever it is, like the new prize card was announced for this season with like the ones that you guys are all have been currently been racking up. Uh, Everyone was like, "Wow, this is a dud prize card of vanilla. This makes no fucking sense. Why are we doing this?" Everyone was kind of like like I don't know, got the ick about it. But then you had Eric at locals saying, "Wow, this was the best decision Konami's ever made." And I was like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 what are you talking about?" And he had said, "Usually in past, the prize cards were, as you said, cards that you could not obtain unless you have won a prize, like a Shonen Jump, you got like Crush cards, Minerva, shit like that. What was the fuck the what this band now number whatever the fuck it is, the one that banishes from your extra deck, like that guy, he's banned now, but like he was a prize card as well. Like these, you couldn't get to these cards unless you've won a YCS, where this one is a prize that doesn't it's not meta impactful. Like anyone could really get one if they want, but it's not like used in a meta strategy. Like Light Sworns couldn't play without Minerva back then, so you had to have a YCS like prize card to play the deck. You couldn't play or do well in those Shonen Jumps without Crush cards. So you had to buy or obtain YCS Crush cards to play in regular events. You know what I'm saying? So like he said that he liked the fact that they were doing pure vanillas that don't really have like a major impact in the meta, but can still be looked at as a one of a kind prize. So do you agree with something like that, like the Glutonia cards, or do you think that because they're not meta worthy that they're not even worth it?
I think like if they're not meta worthy, I don't think they're worth it because like you have to keep in mind that like people are just they're just trying to flex. Like if I have a Glutonia, I can't. What am I doing with it? Like maybe if I maybe if I just hold on to it, but there's like iconic cards. Like for example, if you want to make something like Glutonia, like no one knows what Glutonia is. Like why not make it Dark Magician of Blue Eyes? That shit would go crazy, right? Like I think it has to be something that resonates with
Fair
like
point.
the older audience, like that kind of stuff.
No, no, I can agree. I can see where where Eric was standing with that, but like I just wanted to see where your head at, where your head was at with that. And
Mhm.
it seems to be just like, yeah, it's just something that we can all enjoy and something that's actually competitively viable. Like, imagine if they just took like I would say a staple card from like the YCS winning deck and then made a prize card out of it. Let's just say you topped right now with Infernoid, and you just won a YCS. What if you like, not to say you didn't get your prize card there, but like you got a trophy, whatever, and then they sent you a one of a kind playset rarity of like an Infernoid card, so that way you can like really memorize or commemorate like the event that you took down with the cards that you took them down with. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I think that would be something kind of cool that they could incorporate that would make it like the Yu-Gi-Oh theme, but as well as like, wow, if I really wanted to get a cool playset of this card, I'd have to get it from, like, from this one guy who wanted. That would make it value within the cards, but like still make it Yu-Gi-Oh themed while like making it like, imagine if like when Paulie won with Dragon Link, won Worlds, he got like a special playset of like fucking Striker Dragon in a rarity that no one else is ever gonna get him in, that just says YCS winning, champion Paulie Aronson, or sorry, world's winning champion Paulie Aronson on each one. So if you wanted to play him, you could. Obviously, it's at one, so you wouldn't play three. But like but if you wanted to sell one or whatever like that represents like a better trophy than a Glutonius, in my opinion. Just something that no one's ever gonna like play, so it's gonna have to sit on someone's shelf or someone's trophy case, just sitting there collecting dust. This makes better sense to me.
Yeah, totally agree. Totally agree.
But with that being said, guys, unfortunately, we are starting to run out of life points. I wanted to thank our guests for coming on. Just before we start going into the closeouts, a reminder to go to that Linktree link down below, click on it, and join all of our social sites by clicking on that tab, going to each one, and make sure you follow it to find out when the giveaways are coming out. Shout outs to Unplugged Gaming. Be sure to join their Discord, also in the description link down below. You can be sure to join their Discord and be basically a part of all their TCGs and all their interactions, in store and out of store. So be sure it's when you go in store to mention that the Semi Limited podcast sent you, and you'll be sure to be hooked up. And then last but not least, be sure to check out Brad, who streams on Twitch every Saturday night at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. He's basically streaming a bunch of Yu-Gi-Oh! Theory, deck crafting, playing on Master Duel and EDO Pro, all that stuff. So be sure to catch him out there on Saturdays, basically grinding away. And if you guys do interact with him on chat, be sure to bring up that you want to be mentioned on the Friday night wrap up, or we go ahead and highlight his stream. Without any further ado, we want to thank our guest for coming on and donating his time to the cause. We'll be sure to be sending something out to him from our sponsors, Unplugged Gaming, when we get the second for you. But is there any last minute shout outs or mentions, final thoughts on the show, maybe a place where people can catch you at, anything like that?
Nope, that's it. Thank you. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely, my man. Appreciate you coming out. Thank you so very much for you guys not only listening today, but every episode there on after. Appreciate all the love and all that stuff. And we'll be back Friday to talk about some of the things going on in the terminal world. A lot of big things going on with the U-Boat community. So thank you so very much, and good night.